The mics are back on. We're good to go. And this is Radio Entrepreneurs. And really appreciate it. And I think our next guest we were introduced to by John Dustin, one of our favorite reporters on the show. It's Jeff Hiatt, owner, Performance Business Solutions. Welcome, Jeff.
Hey, thank you very much for having me today.
Thanks. Tell us about PBS.
We do expense reduction consulting for all kinds of different business owners. About 20 years ago, it began to trend toward real estate owners. And for the last 20 years, I've been focused on helping real estate owners reduce the income tax that they end up paying. That's been my primary focus for the last 20 years.
Sorry if I'm jumping ahead. Is that for a fee or is that on a contingency?
We don't do contingency fee on the cost segregation work that we do, which is helping commercial property owners accelerate the depreciation on their buildings. We work on a fixed fee that the client would that we would tell the client up front before starting the project.
So what's your process? What do you look at?
So if you own a commercial building or an apartment building, the problem is that you will automatically end up with either 39-year depreciation or 27.5-year life for an apartment building. What we do is come in from an engineering perspective and identify the components of the building that are eligible for 5-year, 7-year, and 15-year write-off. So instead of writing it off over 39 or 27.5-year life, you accelerate it. And so we've done about 17,000 studies over these last 20 years, and we can give a client an estimate of tax benefit before they engage us, and we also let them know what the fee is up front, again, so that they know, does it make sense to proceed or not.
Oh, very nice. Is this a bad question? Are you an accountant?
No, I am not, but we have 6 CPAs and 17 engineers on staff that do the work. So shockingly, I'm the pretty face that goes out and meets with the clients.
I'm not even going to go there. So you started the business?
No, I joined it after it had been around for about 3 years. It had been run initially by CPAs in the upstate New York area, and I had joined them back in '99 when a CPA introduced it to me, and I started rolling it out here in New England and have been working with them ever since.
So I was going to ask you, are you a shareholder?
No, I guess not, technically. So
Yeah.
I am basically the business development guy.
Okay,
For them.
interesting.
Yeah, it works.
So
out well.
you're not an entrepreneur, but the business is entrepreneurial.
It is, yeah, very
Right.
much, yeah.
Is it different from other entrepreneurial businesses you've been associated with before?
Well, when I started the business of expense reduction, it was this was one tool. The cost segregation tool is one tool within my toolbox, and I have probably 10 or 15 different tools out there. This has become the biggest one in the last 20 years.
So what other tools do you have?
We work with clients to help them reduce energy usage. So we look at tax deductions that are applied if the client does energy efficiency improvements to a building. So if they put in LED lighting or HVAC or improve the efficiency of the shell of the building, there's a concept that's been around called 179D, which is a tax deduction for using less energy. There's also 45L, which is another tax credit situation for people who own apartment buildings and they make their buildings more energy efficient. So we work on that. We also then, those tools help the client use less power and become more efficient that way, plus they get a tax benefit out of it. We also help clients then after that, because they're still going to be using electricity and natural gas off of the grid, we help them end up buying electricity and natural gas for less pricing. We run an online energy auction, so that helps the client reduce what they pay for the energy they're still using. A couple of other things that come into play are solar energy installations and possibly wind or geothermal, all of which have a tax component, also helping the client pay less and also use less power.
Wow. So how do you sell this service?
So I am typically introduced through an advisor of the client. So that advisor might be their accounting firm, it might be their real estate broker, it might be their insurance broker. It would be typically somebody that is in a relationship with that property owner that advisor wants to help the property owner either become more competitive because they're going to have less operating costs, or they want to help get a new relationship with a client, so they're looking for a way to help differentiate themselves from other providers of service out there. So they make an introduction of me to that client, and I go in and help that client, and thereby get the handoff from that advisor to my client, to the.
So you join networking groups? Is that how you sort of get yourself out there?
That's what I've been doing for about 25, 27 years. Organized networking groups have been very good for me, and I've done a lot of them through the years and have had great success with many of them. And it's just been a kind of an evolution over time.
Right, right. Is the business changing at all, in the last few years, technology changing it?
Not on my end so much. Some of the things that have helped, you mentioned change, not so much technology, but really what has changed is the tax code has been really beneficial to the work that we do, where before we were able to provide service to a client that would allow them to move items out of 39 or 27 and a half year life and into 5, 7, and 15. So for 20 some odd years, we were doing that, and that was enough. The new Tax Cuts and Jobs Act changed and allowed us to move all of that 5, 7, and 15 year stuff. Instead of being over 5, 7, or 15 years, now they get to take it in the very first year of purchase of a building. So they get potentially 15 years of depreciation in 1 year.
Interesting. Is it a very competitive business?
On that area, there are a lot of competitors. They're typically the bigger accounting firms like the PwCs and the
Right.
Deloittes and all of them. They have whole departments.
Departments that do this.
Yes, and where we differentiate ourselves is that we do it for smaller buildings and smaller property owners, and we provide a few things that some of the bigger firms don't. Some of the items that we cover, we provide detail on every single part of the building. We also provide free audit support if it's ever needed, and we provide a complete listing of every single thing.
Similar model to some companies I've known in the R&D tax credit space.
Oh yeah, there are
Right.
plenty of people in that space.
Right,
Yeah. That's
right.
That's a good.
It
segment.
is a good space. Jeff, I don't tell everybody again, we're speaking with Jeff Hiatt of Performance Business Solutions. If someone's looking for you and the company, how would they do that?
They can find me on the web at jdh@Revenue Banking. So that's my email address, of course. RevenueBanking.com is my domain name, and I've had that for probably 25 years or so. And we do a lot of work in the cost seg space.
Good. Thanks for being on the show today.
Hey, my pleasure.
We
Thank you very
appreciate
much.
it. Say
Thanks
hi to
for
John
having me.
Dustin for us,
I
good
will.
friend.
Well, thanks a lot.
And we're going to be taking a break, and we'll be right back after these messages on Radio Entrepreneurs.